Today we visit Rome, but not the modern one. We're going to the year 27 BC to 180 AD. I'm Arthur. Join me on this journey through the past.
Rome. The year is 27 BC, and Augustus stands before the Senate, claiming to restore the Republic. But what he's really restoring is the city itself. "I found Rome a city of bricks," he would later say, "and left it a city of marble." Over the next 2 centuries, 200 years, known as the Pax Romana, Rome would transform into the greatest metropolis the world had ever seen. 1 million people packed into a city of monumental temples, massive aqueducts, and towering apartment buildings. The Pantheon's impossible dome, the Colosseum's 50,000 seats, public baths that could hold thousands, a city where slaves and senators bathed side by side, where anyone could access clean water, where entertainment was free and spectacular. This was the Golden Age, not because of conquest. The empire stopped expanding after Trajan, but because Rome became eternal. Architecture that would last millennia, infrastructure that wouldn't be matched in Europe for 1,500 years, a quality of urban life that modern cities still struggle to achieve. I've used modern AI to reconstruct Rome at its absolute peak. We're going to walk its streets, enter its buildings, witness how 1 million people lived in humanity's first truly modern city, and meet the philosopher-emperor who would see it all end.
1 million people, 1 square mile within the ancient walls, thousands more spilling beyond. When Augustus became emperor in 27 BC, Rome was still recovering from decades of civil war. Buildings decayed, streets crumbled. The population, perhaps 800,000, lived in squalor. Augustus changed everything. He divided the city into 14 administrative regions, each with its own leadership. He created the Vigiles, Rome's first fire brigade and police force. He rebuilt 82 temples in a single year, and he launched a building program that would continue for the next 200 years. By the 2nd century AD, Rome had reached its peak. Population, 1 million, a total not equaled in Europe until 19th century London. This wasn't just the largest city on Earth, it was the only city of this scale. Walk through the city and you'd encounter over 1,000 temples. The Forum Romanum, expanded multiple times, served as the political and religious heart. Trajan's Forum, completed in 113 AD, was the largest, 300 meters long, featuring Trajan's column rising 38 meters high. Its spiral reliefs depicted 2,500 figures from the Dacian Wars, a stone record of imperial conquest. The Pantheon, rebuilt by Hadrian between 118 and 126 AD, remains the architectural masterpiece. That dome, 43.3 meters in diameter, still the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome, proved Roman engineering had no equal. Stand beneath the oculus and you stand where every Roman emperor, every senator, every visitor stood for the next 1,900 years. But monuments were just one part. The real revolution was infrastructure. 11 major aqueducts brought over 1 million cubic meters of water to Rome daily, enough for every resident to have 1,000 liters per day. The Aqua Claudia, completed under Claudius in 52 AD, stretched 69 kilometers from mountain springs, entering the city on arches 27 meters high. Walk beneath those arches and you walked beneath one of the greatest engineering achievements in history. The water fed 1,352 fountains, 11 massive public baths, and hundreds of private homes. This wasn't luxury, it was basic urban infrastructure that no other ancient city could match. Roads connected Rome to its empire. The Via Appia, built in 312 BC but continuously maintained, ran 540 kilometers to southern Italy. Couriers could travel it in 5 days. Messages could reach the furthest provinces within weeks. This was how an empire administered 70 million people across 2 million square miles. Rome didn't just grow, it was built to last.
Picture this. You're one of Rome's 1 million residents. Where do you live? If you're wealthy, perhaps 5% of the population, you own a domus, a single-family house, maybe 2 stories, built around an atrium with an impluvium collecting rainwater. Private rooms, a kitchen, possibly your own bath. Marble floors, painted frescoes, mosaic decorations. Space, privacy, luxury. But 90% of Romans lived in insulae, multi-story apartment buildings that dominated the cityscape. These weren't modern apartments, they were vertical slums, sometimes reaching 6 or 7 stories, despite laws limiting height to 20 meters. The ground floor housed shops, tabernae, opening directly to the street. Above, cramped living quarters accessed by narrow staircases. The higher you lived, the cheaper your rent, but also no running water, no kitchen, no heat except portable braziers. Water had to be carried up from public fountains. Cooking meant risking fire in wooden buildings packed with families. Toilets were chamber pots, emptied into the street or into cesspits. Fire was constant terror. Augustus created the vigiles, 7,000 men organized into 7 cohorts, specifically to fight the fires that broke out nightly in wooden insulae. Nero's fire in 64 AD destroyed 10 of Rome's 14 regions, leaving hundreds of thousands homeless. The city rebuilt in brick and stone, but the danger never ended. Noise was relentless. Julius Caesar had banned wheeled vehicles during daytime to reduce congestion. So every night, the streets filled with carts delivering goods, iron wheels grinding on stone pavement. Residents shouted from windows. Street vendors called their wares at dawn. The poet Juvenal complained you couldn't sleep in Rome. Space was the ultimate luxury. Archaeological evidence from Pompeii, frozen in 79 AD, shows a typical insula apartment. 1 room, 30 square meters, housing a family of 5 or 6. Privacy didn't exist. Life happened in public. And public space Rome provided in abundance. Every afternoon, around the 6th hour, Romans headed to the thermae, the public baths. By 400 AD, Rome had between 800 and 900 baths. But the great imperial thermae were architectural wonders rivaling any temple. The baths of Trajan, opened in 109 AD, covered 10 hectares and could serve thousands simultaneously. Walk through the entrance and you entered a complex that was gym, spa, library, art gallery, and social club combined. First, the Palestra, an open-air exercise yard where men wrestled, lifted weights, played ball games. Physical fitness was civic duty. Then, the bathing sequence, the tepidarium, warm room for adjustment, the caldarium, hot room with heated floors and walls, steam rising, bodies sweating out the day's grime. Slaves scraped oil and dirt from skin using curved bronze strigils. The frigidarium, cold plunge pool for shock therapy. Water heated by massive furnaces beneath the floors. The hypocaust system, a Roman invention, circulated hot air through hollow tiles and floors and walls, engineering that modern spas still emulate. Cost of entry? Essentially free. A quadrans, the smallest coin, equal to 1/4 of an ass. Poor laborers could afford it. Slaves came with their masters. Women used the baths too, though Hadrian mandated separate hours. The baths weren't just for cleaning. They were where Romans conducted business, discussed philosophy,
gossiped about politics, socialized across class boundaries. A senator might find himself sharing a pool with a shopkeeper, both naked, both equal in the waters. The baths of Caracalla, completed in 216 AD, pushed luxury further. Mosaic floors, marble columns, rooms adorned with statuary, libraries in both Greek and Latin. Capacity: 1,600 bathers at once. This was Rome's genius, providing urban amenities at scale. No other ancient city came close. The baths proved that a city of 1 million could have quality of life, not just quantity of people. But quality of life came with spectacle, often brutal. The people that once bestowed commands, consulships, legions, and all else, wrote the satirist Juvenal, now meddles no more and longs eagerly for just two things, bread and circuses. Rome's emperors understood, keep the masses fed and entertained, and power remained secure. The grain dole, established by the Republic and expanded under Augustus, provided free wheat to over 200,000 Roman citizens monthly. Later emperors distributed olive oil, wine, and pork. This wasn't charity, it was political stability through free food. But entertainment was the real opiate. The Circus Maximus, seating 150,000 to 250,000, hosted chariot races almost daily. 4 racing factions, blues, greens, reds, whites, inspired fanatical loyalty. Riots regularly erupted between factions. Winning charioteers became celebrities richer than senators. The Colosseum, completed in 80 AD under Titus, brought a new scale of spectacle. Seating 50,000, its 76 numbered entrances allowed complete filling or evacuation in minutes. The elliptical design meant every seat had a view. Opening games lasted 100 days. 5,000 animals were slaughtered: lions, bears, elephants, exotic species hunted to near extinction just for Roman amusement. Gladiatorial combats followed, trained fighters whose blood bought them fame, occasionally freedom. But the Colosseum's real genius was below. The Hypogeum, a 2-story basement with 28 elevators operated by slaves, raised animals and fighters through trapdoors. To spectators, a lion appeared magically in the arena. Engineering created illusion. The games weren't all violence. Pneumachiae, staged naval battles, flooded the arena or were held in artificial lakes. Elaborate sets recreated mythological scenes. This was theater, spectacle, political messaging, all merged into public entertainment. Free, funded by emperors seeking popularity or wealthy citizens seeking status. This kept 1 million people docile, fed, bathed, entertained, and politically impotent.
Then, in 161 AD, something unusual happened. A philosopher became emperor. Marcus Aurelius didn't want power. Raised in luxury, educated by the finest teachers, he preferred philosophy to politics. His teacher, Antoninus Pius, groomed him for duty, not ambition. When Antoninus died, Marcus insisted on sharing power with Lucius Verus, the first official co-emperorship. His reign should have been golden. Rome was at its territorial peak. The city had never been more magnificent. The Pax Romana, nearly 200 years of relative peace, seemed eternal. Instead, Marcus got catastrophe. In 165 AD, troops returning from the Parthian War brought something worse than defeat: plague. The Antonine Plague, likely smallpox, swept through the empire. 5 to 10 million died, perhaps 10% of the empire's population. In Rome itself, Cassius Dio reports that 2,000 people died daily at the peak.
Bodies piled in the streets, funeral pyres burned constantly. The stench of death filled the city. Marcus stayed, administering the empire even as plague decimated the population.
Then the Marcomannic Wars began. Germanic tribes crossed the Danube, invading Italy itself, the first foreign invasion since the Gauls sacked Rome in 390 BC. Marcus spent years on the frontier, fighting, recruiting from gladiators, slaves, and bandits because regular recruitment couldn't replace the dead. During these campaigns, in his tent on the Danube frontier, Marcus wrote his meditations, personal notes in Greek never intended for publication, a Stoic emperor reminding himself how to endure. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. These weren't the words of a triumphant conqueror. They were the private thoughts of a man watching the golden age collapse around him while trying to maintain virtue and duty. Marcus never enjoyed the Rome he ruled. While the Pantheon stood perfect and the Colosseum hosted its games, the emperor was on the frontier, fighting to preserve what was already slipping away. He died in 180 AD at Vindobona, modern Vienna, possibly from the plague itself. His last words to his staff, "Go to the rising sun. I am already sinking." His son Commodus, the opposite of everything Marcus embodied, succeeded him. Within years, Commodus's incompetence and cruelty shattered the stability. The Golden Age was over. From a kingdom of gold to one of rust and iron, wrote Cassius Dio.
1 million people, 200 years, one impossible achievement. What Rome built during the Pax Romana. The Pantheon, 43.3-meter concrete dome that remains the world's largest unreinforced dome 1,900 years later. 11 aqueducts delivering 1 million cubic meters of water daily, 1,000 liters per person. The Colosseum, 50,000 seats with 28 underground elevators and complete fill and evacuation in minutes. The baths of Caracalla, 10 hectares, serving 1,600 bathers simultaneously. Over 800 public baths, providing hygiene, healthcare, and social equality. Trajan's Column, 38 meters tall, 2,500 carved figures, standing intact for 1,900 years. 29 major roads connecting 372 cities across the empire. A city of 1 million, a population Europe wouldn't match until 1800's London. Rome proved something no one had proven before. You could build a city for 1 million people and give them running water, public baths, free grain, spectacular entertainment, and a quality of life that wouldn't be equaled for over a millennium. Fast forward to today, modern cities still use Roman engineering, concrete domes, arched aqueducts, grid systems, public infrastructure. The U.S. Capitol copies the Pantheon. Every subway system echoes Rome's underground complexity. Every welfare state descends from Rome's grain dole. But Rome also proved something darker. Even perfection ends. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, watched the Golden Age collapse. Plague decimated the population. Wars bled the treasury. His unworthy son inherited an empire already in decline. Yet the city endured. When the Western Empire fell in 476 AD, Rome survived. When the population dropped to 30,000 during the Dark Ages, the monuments remained. The Pantheon became a church, saving it from destruction. The aqueducts were cut, but their ruins still cross the countryside. The Colosseum lost its marble facing, but stands as eternal testimony. Rome didn't just build a city, it built the template every modern city follows. Concentrate millions, provide infrastructure, offer public amenities, keep them fed and entertained. The Golden Age lasted only 200 years, but the city it created has lasted 2,000. Augustus found Rome a city of bricks and left it marble. Marcus Aurelius inherited marble and left it to rust. But the marble endured, and in its endurance lies the proof: Rome built for eternity. The Pax Romana ended in 180 AD, but Rome, the idea, the architecture, the city, never died.
Thank you so much for watching. What other golden ages should I reconstruct? Drop a comment below.